Any biological system at rest resists movement, and a multi-species unit living inside a complex treehouse is no exception. Before any operations can begin, the group must hit a critical activation threshold to overcome the physical drag of morning inertia. Achieving this requires layering multiple external stimuli. The unit relies on the rising sun as a primary circadian trigger, but they supplement it with the high-frequency acoustic signals of local bird calls. This compounded approach is necessary because certain members, specifically the monkey, will actively resist the wake-up protocol, demanding extended sleep cycles. Once vertical, the unit immediately hits a secondary layer of friction, the mechanical demands of the morning protocol. Washing faces creates a sudden, jarring thermal shock, but the real bottleneck is logistical. Applying outerwear reveals sizing discrepancies, jackets that are slightly too small, and the highly technical puzzle of tying complex shoelaces, which often requires peer-to-peer assistance. Successfully navigating these minor mechanical failures and hygiene steps is the group's first win of the day. By troubleshooting these individual wardrobe and energy issues together, the unit effectively synchronizes, ensuring every member is ready to transition from the private space of the treehouse to the public demands of the outside world. With the group awake and dressed, the focus shifts to internal logistics. Because the unit spans multiple biological profiles, they cannot rely on a uniform food supply. Preparing for an external excursion requires precise species-specific fueling strategies to guarantee steady physical output. This animated matrix plots the unit's varied caloric requirements. You can clearly see the distinct nutritional split. On one side, the panda requires dense, slow-burning carbohydrates sourced from bamboo bread. On the other side, the monkey requires immediate energy, drawing directly from bananas. But what they eat is less critical than how they eat it. The group enforces a rigid pacing protocol for food and water intake. By deliberately slowing their consumption, they prevent sharp spikes, ensuring their absorption rates remain controlled within a stabilized metabolic zone. This tailored, highly regulated approach to nutrition ensures that every individual member avoids sudden lethargy. Their biological systems are stabilized and fully fueled for the physical demands waiting outside the treehouse. The first external deployment is the local park, a space designed almost entirely around the generation and management of kinetic energy. Entering this zone introduces a high degree of calculated physical risk. The environment encourages aggressive vertical movement, testing the climbing capabilities of the group. However, this exertion is constantly checked by a strict top-down safety mandate. The larger members monitor the smaller units, repeatedly drilling a single critical instruction: maintain your grip and do not fall. While navigating this physical movement, the group concurrently processes heavy streams of environmental data. They actively catalog their surroundings, specifically noting the stark red and yellow color variations in local plant life and observing the rapid mechanical movements of local birds extracting seeds. Eventually, the sheer volume of physical activity reaches its limit. To keep the group's energy levels from dipping too low, the unit initiates a mandatory midday reset. They pull back from the park and transition into a highly controlled visual environment, watching a bright, color-saturated movie while ingesting warm, texturally complex popcorn. This shift acts as a buffer between high-energy play and the rest of the day's tasks. By systematically alternating between intense physical exertion and a period of quiet, shared focus, the unit maintains its collective composure and prevents any single member from becoming overstimulated. Having recharged, the group escalates their range. They deploy their heavy transport unit, the Royal Horse Cart. This robust their destination is the canal, where they initiate their aquatic resource extraction protocol. This diagram maps the exact physics of their approach. The process requires precise calibration, securing the hook, casting the line with enough force to reach the necessary depth, and establishing the optimal angle against the water's current. But the mechanical setup is only half the equation. The dominant variable in this process is psychological. The group must monitor the fluctuating line tension while maintaining absolute stillness. Any sudden, aggressive movements will snap the connection, meaning the line must be managed with a steady, unwavering hand. Catching fish out here is a demanding test of the group's discipline. It requires them to transition from the loud, high-speed travel of the horse cart to a state of quiet, synchronized focus, allowing them to successfully extract resources from an unpredictable environment. Returning to base triggers an immediate lockdown of outside contaminants. Before any of the newly acquired resources can be processed, every single member must pass through a sanitation checkpoint, subjecting their hands to the thermal shock of cold, splashing water. With the biological threat neutralized, the unit moves into efficient resource processing. Rather than duplicating effort, they implement a division of labor. One faction takes over the high-heat cooking of the bamboo rice, while another handles the meticulous task of peeling the carrots. Once the calories are consumed, they face the final chore of the day: cleanup. By tackling the mess collectively, the burden of the task is shared across the entire group. What would take a single individual an hour to scrub is completed in minutes by multiple sets of hands, reinforcing their reliance on one another. The operational day concludes with a final, mint-flavored oral hygiene loop. This gentle brushing acts as a biological signal, officially transitioning the unit from a state of high alert back into a posture of total, comfortable rest. Keeping multiple different species functioning together under one roof is a significant logistical challenge. But by relying on tailored diets, structured periods of rest, and shared labor at home, they transform a potentially chaotic group dynamic into a deeply synchronized, peaceful society.